in Tennessee.
where family is alive. You hear shots ring
From
from
the
the
woods.
woods. Take on 45. Life is good.
How's that for rather raw? Yes. Hickok 45 here. Welcome to Middle Tennessee, your internet shooting companion. Coming to you from, Tennessee, the home of Alvin York and so many famous people. You think it's Tennessee? Nah, just kidding, right? It's not Tennessee. You can tell. You can tell by looking around. What's behind me? It's Kentucky, can't you? Yeah. Or Mississippi. Or New York. New York State, you think? Upstate New York? Hey, if you haven't been there, maybe it looks like this. You ever been to Michigan, North Dakota, Florida? Never know. Louisiana might be where I am. Yeah, we got these little growths all around. No, I'm in Tucson area. Okay, I told you I would try to keep the Sunday shoot around going, whether I'm home or not. And you can probably guess, those of you with an IQ above 40, which eliminates all the trolls, right? If your IQ is above 40, you know I'm not in Tennessee. And then some of you know exactly where I am, or you knew before I even told you, right? Because I am in the Tucson area, a little north of Tucson, Arizona, that is, in case you didn't know where Tucson is. So wanted to at least check in with you. Can't really do any shooting right here, so it's sort of a shoot around, bang bang. Well, let's see, I do have something I could shoot with. I don't want to get in trouble right where I am. It might be okay, I don't know, but it's not a shooting range. And I think I told you last week perhaps that John was out here doing some comedy at Laughs, in Tucson, and has been out here for several days. And that I wished I was here because I love this area. Well, this thing's developed a little while after talking with you the last time. Make sure I'm recording, yes. Things just sort of fell into place, and I said, I'm ready to go on the road. And I think I'm just going to ride out there. And that's what I did. And that's how I got here. I drove out here, which I am known to do. I have flown a great deal in my life, back in the 80s especially, and I don't like flying really. I'll do it if I have to. I would rather drive. I love to drive across the desert, and if you've ever driven across Texas, you had better enjoy driving across the desert, right? Yeah, because there's a little of it out there. What did John Wayne say? There's no law west of Dallas and no God west of the Pecos. It still looks that way, to tell you the truth. He was pretty correct, I think. But so here I am in Tucson, and came out to hang out a little bit with John and really visit the area, and then I'm going to other parts perhaps from here. This is really my first choice in terms of just jumping in the car and going somewhere different, kind of taking a road trip. Yeah, more so than, I don't know, driving up into New England or Florida, Michigan, or some of the other places I mentioned. I'm very fond of this area out here because I grew up in Kentucky, and that's why that was such a joke and so hilarious early on. This is nothing like Kentucky, is it? Just all the growth and various bushes and trees and shrubs and cacti. It's just a different planet. You really feel like you're on a different planet. And where we are now, John rented a little house on 5 acres actually, and that's where I am. And it really is. It's like being dropped onto Mars or some other planet, and it's just, everything is so different. No grass, of course, and you folks who live out here, you live in the West, it's just nothing special to you, and you don't understand why I make a big deal out of it. But if you grew up in the land of bluegrass and in Tennessee, this is just so bizarre, really. If you have never been out here, and you live, east of the Mississippi or back east, I try to make a plan. I've advised that before. Get out here if you can sometime. I waited too late in life to come out west. I flew out here lots of times in the 80s and even went out into the desert in Phoenix one time with a group, I remember. But even shot some guns at the time. But I've not driven. It wasn't until, I don't know what, 10 years ago that I actually started driving out here and driving through these western states, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, that I really got a feel for what it's like out here. And just, you got to drive through it. You really do. And in Ballistol.com, Ballistol, great lube, and TalonGunGrips.com. Talon Grips, I could show those. I've got some in my pocket. But anyway, appreciate everybody that helps us. And General Motors got me out here. Appreciate that. So it is amazing to me. I'm not going to keep you too long because for one thing, I want to be able to upload it out here in the motel room. But a 2-hour video, probably take 4 days to upload. But as I was driving through Texas and almost through Texas, almost in El Paso, and this occurs to me on all these trips, I think, about what an amazing machine vehicles really have become. And when I was growing up, my dad had a 51 Ford, we had a 56 or 57 Buick, 59 Buick, back in those early days, and a 63 Buick. And the 63 is a little bit different. I don't remember it overheating. But back in the 50s, when we'd go on vacation, we'd go into the Smokies and around Smoky Mountains. I remember into the beach, Virginia Beach or somewhere from Kentucky. I recall those things, those cars, nice cars, overheating occasionally, especially going up the mountains in the Smokies. And there'd be people stopped along the road quite frequently, putting water in the radiator. And not junker cars, just a car that's a year or two old or whatever, or a new car. They just overheated back then. Sometimes you had to make sure you kept water in them, and they just were not as advanced. And nothing about them was as advanced. You'd have trouble with maybe a brake line or braking or something, even a car that's not that old. Things that don't happen very often these days. Here I am, I better keep my mouth closed, knock on wood, cross my fingers, here I'm bragging. But just to be able to roll through the desert at 75, 80, 85 miles per hour, legally pretty much, for hours and hours, that's pretty impressive to me. I know it probably takes a NASA shuttle to impress you, or the internals of a computer or something. But those simple things like that, I think about those wheel bearings, that transmission, and that crankshaft, the pistons, and all the parts of the engine moving that fast for that many hours over and over. And you may drive literally a couple hours without a break, without turning it off. And it's impressive to me. I'm pretty easy to impress, I guess. I might even be impressed by a lawnmower. You never know. So again, I told you why I'm out here. And I've been in the mood. I even had my bags packed several weeks ago to just take off and a little jaunt for about a week. I wasn't sure where I was going, and just had been kind of housebound or compound bound in a lot of ways. I felt like it, and I know you all have felt like it, and I have admitted many times that I have a better situation than a lot of people, and I don't, I realize that, and I'm really thankful for it. I have some land, I can still get out and shoot, make videos and everything, so I'm extremely aware and appreciative of that. But I don't know, still, I'm just kind of used to getting out, and where the NRA meeting was canceled, and lots of other things that I had planned to go to were all, just like you, canceled, and man, I got to get out of here. And if I have to wear a mask in some places and getting around, I'm going to do it. And so I just got in the car, did a little more packing, and just took off. Just took off, really. Not long after speaking with you all last time. And so here I am. Here I am. Just amazing how you can end up on another planet, in a couple of days of hard driving. really can't. And so I love it out here again because it's so different. And I met several of you. I have met several of you out here on the way out here. Various places, restaurants and things. The fellow at Denny's, you're probably watching. That was interesting. I think you said you were moving from Ohio to California. Wow, most people are going the other direction these days, right? But and we just randomly met at Denny's in Deming, New Mexico. It was interesting. At least random for him. I am wherever I am. But that's profound. Did Emerson say that? I am wherever I am. That's pretty close to, and almost as profound as wherever you go, there you are, right? And of course, another chapter of that is everybody has to be somewhere. We could just go on forever with genius, couldn't we? So I think it's the Western air. It just increases my IQ probably. So I'm gonna get a little hoarse. John and I have been sitting around on the back porch having a cigar and just enjoying the desert, which is very dry. You can probably tell, and it's very hot. It's been getting about 97, 100 degrees, over 100 degrees every day. And but again, it's a dry. I've heard two sides of that business about the desert and the dry air and all that kind of thing. But I've experienced it myself now. And for growing up, I heard people say that all the time, that, yeah, it's 105 degrees or it's 110 in Nevada or Arizona or somewhere, but it's a dry heat. It's not as bad. Well, it seems like, the last 10 years or so of my life, everybody's trying to refute that, coming back on that, saying, no, it's still really hot. It's worse than Tennessee or Mississippi. It's a lot worse. I know we don't have the humidity, but it's a lot worse, et cetera, et cetera. Now, it may be different certain months of the year that I've not been out here as much, but even when it's 100 degrees, it's nothing like Tennessee. Tennessee, generally, now sometimes it's warm in Tennessee or Kentucky, and it's not humid every day, but most of the time it's fairly humid. And I want to tell you, I'm here to, it's 100 degrees basically today. It has been. And my shirt is not soaked, and we've been walking through the desert and everything. Now it's hot, and I can feel the sun on my legs burning. And I wear shorts, as you know, they're kind of reddish. I think we haven't been out in it that much, but I'm probably going to have a little bit of sunburn. I'm pretty good about staying away from that, but the sun is, I don't know, I guess because the air is clearer out here, less humidity, and so you can burn pretty quickly, I guess, like at the beach. But there is definitely a difference when you do not have humidity. I am here to vouch for that. I have spent a lot of time in the heat and humidity, like most of my life in Tennessee, okay? And I've been out here enough to know that even when it's hot, it's just not the same, just not the same. You step into the shade and out here, and because it's not so humid, and even when it's really hot, and there's usually a little breeze, it's just a world of difference, I think. So anyway, that's my little lesson on climate. Okay, I'm an expert, right? So temperature, humidity, anything else you want to know, just ask me. Oh man, I love this desert and the sand. It's just great. But so yeah, as I was saying, it was neat to meet you all. I've met several of you on the way out here, and since we've been here, and I've hit several gun shops. That's kind of what I'm doing. I've stopped in a lot of gun shops just to say hi and look around, see what they have. It's really interesting. I've always done this since I was 20 years old, probably. When I'm traveling, I'll stop in gun shops, bookstores, or whatever, but gun shops as much these days as anything. And it's just interesting to see what the inventory is when you're several states away, out west or somewhere, or back up in Maine or wherever, and see what people are buying and shooting. And it's essentially the same stuff, but there's some variations. And this week it's been interesting to see what the stock is on some places. Maybe I don't have a list in front of me. I got a couple of places I stopped at in my mind. Maybe next week I'll kind of give a report on the gun shops that I stopped in. B&B was one in Abilene. It was a nice shop. Good folks there. Abilene, Texas. There's also in Abilene, Kansas, right? Probably some others. Where else? Oh gosh, a place called the Gun Shop, I think, in Dallas, just on this side of Dallas or Fort Worth. I remember it was kind of a pawn shop too. It was mainly a gun shop. Pawn shop in one end was another business maybe, but it was a big building there. You're probably familiar with it if you're in the area. And in some sense, I've been here, and I'm planning to hit a couple more at least. I haven't been to Murphy's yet. I think it's Murphy's. Is that right? Murphy's Gunsmithing in Tucson. We stopped there the last time I was in town. But there's a lot of good gun shops around. I just enjoy stopping in and saying hi, or just seeing what they have. You know, and in some gun shops they don't know who I am, and you know, I don't go in and say, hey, I'm Hickok 45. You know, I just go in and look around. You know, and I've always done that. Always done it, and pick up an oddball, odds and ends. You know, I bought some gun socks at B&B, I guess, and you know, I might pick up a magazine I kind of need. If I have a review coming up, and it would be good to have a third magazine or something, you know, so I do that. Or I'll see things I'm reminded of when I see it, you know. And so anyway, yeah, it's fun going to gun shops, and I meet some of you all in those gun shops, you know, and just around. So it's just fun getting out of town, isn't it? And I know I'm being a bad boy with this horrible bug going around, right? But yeah, I behave myself, and I'm in the car most of the time, you know, driving by myself. I always wear a mask when I'm driving down the interstate, you know, by myself. I'm like the news reporters I talked about last week. When no one else is around, I'm still wearing my mask, you know. And I try to set a good example when I'm driving my car across the desert, because someone might see me with that mask on, and it will be an influence. They'll say, oh, that old guy's wearing his mask. Yeah, I should be wearing mine, right? All right, I don't know any good jokes. I'm just being silly. John's the comic. But again, if you get a chance, you want to come west. Yeah, and I really do recommend saving up some money and some vacation time, and hopefully you have a car that you think will be reliable enough to do it. If you can carve out a couple of weeks, you know, even 1 week, but if you could somehow in your schedule, heck, plan it 2 years in advance, and save some of that beer money or whatever, ammo money, right? And just plan a 2-week drive out west. I had meant to do it back in the 70s. I never did it. I wish I had. I'd know more about it. I'd have been out here every couple of years if I had done it once, for sure. But or maybe every year. So I really highly recommend you do it. If you live, you know, back east. Now, if you live in California, you don't have to save up money to drive out west. Still smart, right? You know, brains cells are still working even out here in the desert. But if you live back east, and by back east again, I mean basically anywhere probably east of like Dallas. A lot of people think if they've not been to Texas, or they've not been, I don't know, out of North Carolina or out of New York or Maine or something, Michigan, they think they've seen too many westerns, like me, if that's possible to see too many westerns. But they think of Dallas as being out west in the desert, and it's not. It's like Tennessee, if you didn't know that, okay? And you've got to get a little further west than that. When you get out past west of Fort Worth, Dallas and Fort Worth, it's not long before, you get out there about 30 minutes, an hour, and we're getting into the west now. And then within a couple hours, you're in the west, and you're seeing the desert, and it's pretty flat, and it is the desert. And then you get a little further, closer to El Paso, which is a long way down the road. Well, not even that far. A few more hours down the road, you start seeing mountains and desert too. So that's always neat. So, anyway, the mountains in the desert, it's quite a sight, and I get a real thrill out of seeing it. I love driving through it. I really do. Not sure where I'm going from here. North, south, east, back towards home. Probably not west because I don't want to get into California. But yeah, I'm just not sure yet. Right now, I'm right here. Yeah, I'm right here. Normally, I'm standing in the woods talking to you. Today, I'm standing in the desert talking to you. I don't get much smarter, do I? Doesn't get any better. But anyway, it's good to see you all, and the ones that I have met so far. And I can't meet all of you. That's a real newsflash, right? I can't meet all of you, which reminds me again, I still get more mail than I can ever get to in the comments, just don't have time. But I still get requests to come and shoot with us, and it's just hundreds a month, and no way I can do that. Of course, even if there weren't the liability issue, but wish I could. But the liability is really extreme, and so can't really do that. But I would like to invite all of you over. That would be so much fun. Maybe every subscriber, 5-something million plus, and just everybody gather around. Maybe we'd all fit on 40 acres. You reckon? I don't know. And we could just have a big party, right? Yeah. Maybe we could do it out here in the desert. We'll all meet north of Tucson one day and just get here and hug some of the cacti, okay? Hug a cactus, So, and if some of you don't know, I'll let you go, but these big boys, girls, whatever, behind us here, the saguaro cactus are protected. I don't know if some of you realize what you're seeing. You've seen those in the movies, or you live out here, Those are quite interesting. They live like hundreds of years. Takes them 100, 200 years to get that big or more, and they're protected. Okay, they are protected. You mess with one of those, and you can find yourself in jail. Okay, so the funny thing is, there's some of them though that have holes, and they're really huge, like as big as that one on the right, maybe, or bigger. It might have been here 200 years. And there's been some damage to it, but they're still alive. It's interesting to think about that, particularly if you're down around Tombstone, that Doc Holliday or Ringo or Wyatt Earp might have done a little target practice on it. They might have just taken a few shots at it, and there it is, still growing. They live a long time, and they're only in this area. That's the interesting thing about it. So when you're watching a Western movie, and you'll see it quite often, they try to make it look more Western, add the local color, as you call it, the ambiance, the scenery, and they'll bring in a fake saguaro cactus like that. And if you've been out here, you can tell when they're fake. Or they'll shoot a scene, maybe the setting is Dodge City, or I don't know, Denver, Colorado or something. And and they'll be running through a desert like this, and all these saguaro cactus and everything. So, something doesn't fit here. So most people, or I guess most, wouldn't know the difference. But they only grow in this area of Arizona. Down, I don't know, you know more about it than I do maybe. I think you run out of them as you get up north of Phoenix. You stop seeing them, and then going south. Down around, of course, Tombstone, but probably down into Mexico, Bisbee, I guess. But it's just in this swath of land area around here is where they exist. Not in Texas. I don't think there's a one in Texas. So that'd be more likely. See a movie. It's supposed to be Dallas, and in fact, I can think of a movie in Dallas. I think it's a Randolph Scott movie where he's riding into Dallas or Fort Worth, and it just looks just like this, dusty, and everything, nothing green. But there could be, these cactus, growing, in Fort Worth or Dallas, supposedly. So you didn't really need that news flash, did you? That everything you see Hollywood produces is not necessarily real or authentic, realistic. Okay, I'll let you go. I'm sorry I didn't get to shoot. I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for me. I mean, it's days without pulling a trigger, But next week I'll shoot an extra amount. How's that? An extra amount. And I hope you're enjoying the videos posted recently. Oh man, I'm kind of brain dead from traveling, but you know, yeah, anaconda close up and some stuff, big boar stuff. So what else have you probably seen already? Small game hunt, you know, the Glock 34, you know, things like that. And you'll probably see some more shooting videos, right? Because I like to shoot. I also like to travel and hang out in the desert. It's funny because a lot of people who were raised in this area, this probably means nothing to them, you know. You know, I mean, it's just the way it is. We take things for granted. Those mountains I'm looking at that you can't see, and this terrain and vegetation, it doesn't mean anything to them. Boring to them. They get excited when they go to Tennessee and see the green trees and the oaks and poplar trees, maybe. So it's all relative. It's all relative. So, what else did you want to know? Okay, told you why I'm here. I just got a wild hair and had to drive out here. Make sure John's behaving. And what else? I don't know anything smart to tell you. So I'm going to let you go, and I'll see you next week. Appreciate you dropping in. I'm especially impressed that you found me, because I know I've been doing videos long enough that it's not that amazing that you find me, you know, on the compound, but you found me out here in the middle of the desert, you know, in Marana, I guess, you know, Arizona. You found me, and I am way off the roads. I mean, way off the roads. It takes me like 10 to 15 minutes just to drive back through these dirt roads, sandy roads, to get to this spot where John is staying. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Definitely out in the middle of the desert. So I'll say goodbye, and appreciate you coming by. Life is always good, and today life is still good. I'm gonna shut you off right now. Let me say that again. Life is good.